Hi, welcome back. And look what I got on my bench. This is a treat. It's a realistic STA 21 AM/FM stereo receiver. Wow, look at this. Let's go through the specs on this thing. This was the budget, bottom of the line budget receiver for Radio Shack for that era. And I'm guessing this is 1978, close to that. So we got a receiver here, 7 watts per channel, and to 8 ohms from 20 to 28 kilohertz, no more than 0.9% total harmonic distortion. Not great specs, but then they're not that bad either, considering, you know, this is a bottom end unit. So it's got kind of features. It's got phase lock loop demodulator, push button for main and remote speakers. It's got loudness, state monitor, AM/FM phono auxiliary. All the features you'd expect on your standard receiver, and it's all here, but it's bare bones. Let's get into the specs here. Frequency response 15 to 30 kilohertz, plus minus 2 dB. We can test that. Signal to noise ratio 60 dB, phono 65 dB, auxiliary, FM tuner, specs of the tuner. Yeah. So yeah, I remember this, good, better, and best. I remember that from when I was a kid, looking at the Radio Shack catalogs. Anyways, let's look at it. It's filthy. It's got a lot of dirt and stuff splashed on it. I don't know what, but it's filthy. We're gonna have to open this thing up and see what's going on inside, but first let's try it out. I have it hooked up to speakers. I got it hooked up to isolation transformer. I got let's feed some stuff into the input. Let's load this program and let's change it. Let's leave it at 30 hertz signal. Turn on channel 1. Okay, I got it hooked up to speakers. I got it hooked up to a scope. Let's power this baby on. Power's on. It seems to be working. I'm getting stations. Let's turn up some volume. Let's turn the speakers on first.
And the affordable luxury sound with the Volvo. My mom was in Trinidad. Hasn't been run.
AM's working good. Needs an antenna, obviously, but
They're almost ready to reopen.
let's try FM.
Hanging out with Shannon Tyler. 99.3, Edmonton's greatest hits.
A little scratchy on the right channel.
Treatments and upgrades. And this can be piled on top of our everyday 2-for-1. 50% savings until January 31st only, and our country best designer 2-for-1. Optics International,
stereo
largest
reception
optical
on this
boutiques in
channel.
Canada, 7 days a week, optometrists on site in South Edmonton Common.
Getting a little bit of reception here.
Minute B.
Seems to be working okay. Aside from that little bit of scratchiness on the right channel. Maybe it's a dirty switch. Left channel's cutting in and out too. Yeah. Left channel's cutting in and out. It's a dirty switch. Feeding it a 30 hertz signal. camera's picking that up, but let's see what we got here. Let's turn it up, see what we can get. Amplitude, frequency, 200 hertz. Some distortion on the left channel. Just hang on, I'm going to switch my scope to the left channel. Okay, left channel's on my scope. I think that might be my speaker. So I'm getting a good sine wave out of the left channel. Let me see what very dirty switches. Need to be cleaned. Right channel's a lot quieter. Watts, eh? Let's turn this down. Something more manageable. Okay. I'm not getting clipping yet, that's the thing. .8 volts peak. .707. This is 9 volts RMS. Calculating 10.25 watts. I'm not even clipping, so this thing's probably under spec'd. Okay, so let's get the cover off. I think it's going to need some capacitors the way it's sounding. The left channels, right channel's not equal. Clean up some switches, clean up the face, see if we can breathe a little life into this puppy. Okay, I got the cover off. It's just a wooden box type cover. Chassis slides in. But I gotta say, I'm actually kind of impressed. Look at this thing. Some fusing here going on. Heatsink is adequate for, 10 watts per channel. Everything's nicely assembled. This thing was made in Korea. Radio Shack had I don't know if they had a factory. I guess they did in Korea that exclusively made their Tandy and Radio Shack equipment. Pretty basic, but it's clean. It looks good. I'm thinking some of these caps are going to be garbage because they're pretty old. I'm looking here, date code on this chip. It's the only chip in the receiver. It's a Sanyo A3350, and I'm sure that's an FM, some kind of FM chip. But it's got a 7B5 date code, which I'm guessing is 1977. Yeah, not too bad. Let's try the other side. Easy to get out all the boards. You know, the primary wiring is nicely insulated. There's the switch is insulated. The fuse is insulated on the other side. Easy access for service, except for under here maybe. A lot of hand wired, everything's wire wrapped, so a lot of hand wiring went into these. I guess they got to justify the $160 price tag. Okay, so let's get going with some cleaning of these switches, and I'm going to do some ESR tests on these caps, see what we're looking at, and maybe I'll replace a few of them. Okay, not much exciting going on here. I went through and tested all the electrolytic capacitors, and I'm not finding any bad ones. These are all Sanyo caps. They're all Sanyo, every one of them, and they seem to be holding out. Really not going to do anything to this amplifier because there's nothing to fix. I went through and I cleaned the pot switches. I'm trying to give it an alignment here, but the service manual doesn't even match this amplifier with regards to setting up the bias and whatnot, because the instructions it gives doesn't even match like the resistor locations. I think the instructions for the bias settings, amplifier bias settings, is for another amplifier, and this one I don't have anything. So what I did is I set 10 millivolts across each of the emitter resistors. I'm just going to leave it at that because you know, this one I measured 30 millivolts and this one I measured 0, so I set them both at 10. I'm just going to go through some power and frequency response tests. I got it set up, isolation transformer. I got it into an 8 ohm dummy load, feeding it with a 40 hertz signal. I'm going to bump that up to see what kind of frequency response this thing has. We're going to feed it some square waves too. I got it hooked up to a scope. I don't have the scope in view, but I'm going to put this amplifier up to clipping. Oh, it's clipping right there. Let's see if I can get this a little better resolution. The top is clipping before the bottom of the wave. Yeah, the top clips way sooner. So right there I got, yeah, a little bit of distortion. Got 11.2 volts sine wave with no distortion. That's the max. This is with both channels going, remember? Last time I did a test, it was just one channel. But let's see here. I'm getting 7.8 watts. Yeah, just before clipping. I'm doing a 40 hertz signal. Let's turn it down. feeding it a 10 hertz signal. I'll show you what it looks like. Got a little bit of clipping on the top and bottom. If I turn it up, it becomes more prominent. Starting to get distortion. So that's the point right there where you're distortion free. We're doing 10 volts. So it's probably just under 7 watts. Let's do some. Okay, we're at 2 kilohertz. See it just before clipping. Let's turn this up. 6 kilohertz. $11 kilohertz. Signal starting to drop. 15 kilohertz. Yeah, and still. It's clipping there. 13 volts peak. .2. 9.2 RMS. So we're doing about 10.5 watts right there. At 15 kilohertz. Let's get up some more. Right about here, the amplitude starts dropping off. I'm at 21 kilohertz. .30 kilohertz. .40. .50 kilohertz. I'm roughly at half of the peak power output of this amplifier. So it's dropping off. Let's feed it some square wave. Frequency. Feeding it a 45 kilohertz square wave. Let's tone this down. Looks like we're starting to clip. 22 kilohertz. .12. 10 kilohertz. So let's see where it drops off right about. I would say right there. 9 kilohertz square wave. I've seen better and I've seen worse. It's not too bad actually, considering the you know, the work that went into building this thing. Not much else I can do to it. Tests out fine. It's got full power output. what I'm going to do is, I don't have equipment to do FM alignment. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do the AM alignment and just leave it at that. Put it back together and then call it a day. I don't have any purpose for this receiver. Maybe I could sell it. I don't know. I don't know if anybody would buy it. It's pretty limited on its features and performance. So I don't know how many people would be interested in buying such a vintage receiver of this caliber. Look at this. It's got a little foam here on the end of the antenna. I don't know what that's for. It's interesting. Little touches they did in the tuning. Fuses. It's a nice little unit. Okay, thanks for watching.